We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Now we're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Now we're actually doing it live. We thought we were doing it live a moment ago, but we weren't.
We were wrong.
Now we are. Welcome, everyone, to the Nerd Out With Me 90s cast, episode 4.
That's 4 for your non-bilingual listeners.
That's true. We are now in April of 1990. For you folks who are just joining us, we are taking a 120-episode journey through the 1990s, starting in January of 1990 and ending
in December of 1999.
Yes, I knew. Woo! I knew you could do it. Yes, we're going to be looking at like everything. What cool stuff? What stuff are we looking at?
We're looking at movies, TV shows,
yeah.
comic books, video games.
Everything.
Shoes and food.
Shoes again?
And food.
So you are either joining us on YouTube right now or you are joining us on a podcast. Either way, thank you very much for joining us. Also, either way, whether you're joining us on YouTube or for the video version or you're listening to us on a podcast, if you are one of our Patreon subscribers, you will get bonus stuff. You'll get the full unedited video footage of this podcast exclusive to you as a Patreon subscriber, and you'll also get bonus podcast segments that you can only get as a Patreon subscriber.
Stuff that is not meant for normal people's ears.
That's right. So this week we're talking about Metal Gear 2, Snake's Revenge.
Snake's Revenge.
Awesome NES game, one of the early games in the Metal Gear Solid series, one of the biggest video game series of all time, so that's kind of cool. We're also going to talk about Wrestlemania 6.
Yeah.
And the big matchup, Ultimate Warrior
versus Hulk Hogan.
That's right. We're going to cap things off with a look at, you remember In Living Color?
Of course.
I mean,
and
huge.
Launched many actors.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And in our bonus segment, which is for our Patreon subscribers, we're going to talk about the awesome, amazing indie comic from the era, Hate, that only a few of you may or may not remember. And we will also briefly talk about Public Enemy's amazing third album, Fear of a Black Planet.
Fear of a Black Planet.
One of the most important records in my life. So we'll talk about that in a bonus segment. Otherwise, come back in a second. We're going to deal with some cool stuff. Lates. I just did really say lates, too. We're back. It's pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
Some pretty cool video games came out in April of 1990. You remember Smash TV? Phantasy Star 3 Generations of Doom also came out. This month.
I'm excited. What was it?
Are you really excited?
Yeah,
genuinely?
I am.
Snake's Revenge.
Snake's Revenge.
On the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System.
I did not get to play that.
Now, did you play Metal Gear?
Yes.
The original Metal Gear on NES.
Well, I played it at a friend's house. I didn't own it.
Sure. No, that's the same way I played it too, yeah. Actually, a friend had the game, and I remember playing at his house many times. The original Metal Gear was like totally fascinating to me because it looked like your typical action game, but you had like items and stuff that you had to get, and like you had to kind of think your way through it, which
added a little bit of RPG.
Yeah, there was
a taste of it.
There were like sort of adventure game elements, which is pretty cool. Is that what you got there on the screen there, Snake's Revenge?
We're staring at, Snake's Revenge, which I don't have any memory of playing.
Yeah, that was, it's not a widely loved sequel. It's the sequel to the original Metal Gear, but Hideo Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear, had no involvement in this particular game. He was busy making one called Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake on the MSX system, or the MSX2, which nobody had. Who owned that?
Not me.
Did that even come out here? I don't even know.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up.
I don't feel like reading anymore. Reading on air is lame, so I don't think the MSX.
Let's say not.
Yeah,
never came out in North America.
But Snake's Revenge was pretty cool if you liked the original.
It has not Contra. Well, no, I would say like more of the.
Your video game comparisons, I'm learning, are just awful.
How so?
You just have terrible.
Maybe I just look at things differently.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all.
It kind of reminds me of Castlevania meets Yoshi.
What? Now, did you continue playing Metal Gear games after this era?
No.
Not even like when Metal Gear Solid became a thing in the PlayStation era?
Nope. I'm sorry. I did not.
Now, you know Metal Gear Solid is now, like, enormous.
Huge. Oh, yeah.
Gigantic.
I totally missed... I just didn't play them. I moved into other realms of gameplay.
I remember getting Metal Gear Solid based on my memory of the original Metal Gear from NES, and I was like, wow, a modern version of that? That's going to be pretty cool. And just like everyone else in the world who ever played it, fell in love with the game. And actually, my wife would come in and watch me play the game, because she's like, wow, it's like watching a movie. Because that was one of these early games that had these super long cutscenes and voice acting and all that stuff. Little did we realize that Kojima would go crazy later. And the later games, literally, they're like 30-minute long cutscenes. I think one of the games boasts something ridiculous, like, I don't know.
So it was like a full-length movie worth of...
No, like 20 hours of
really?
watching stuff.
Dear
so
Lord.
I kind of got out of the series because of that.
It lost you a little bit.
After Metal Gear Solid 3, I got out of the series because I want to play the game.
Right.
I don't want to watch the game, I want to play the game. I don't know, I mean, check out the footage. That looks like the original Metal Gear.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of game.
It's like
It's more of the same. There's nothing wrong with more of the same.
It's like Contra.
Oh, God. So bad. So bad.
This was one of those games I completely... And it sounds crazy. The whole genre I just almost all missed out on, so it's hard for me to talk about. It looks good. Actually, I'm kind of ticked off that I didn't get to play it because
they were great. I thought they were.
There's a reason why it's popular. Obviously,
they were cool for the adventure aspects because again, you had to I need to access this area, and in order to access this area, I need to get these certain items and use them in a certain way to get there, and all that stuff. The whole stealth aspect I really loved. I loved the idea that the game wasn't about having great reflexes and blasting the guys. It was about, hey, can I outsmart the enemy and figure out a way to get around them? Or I guess as the story goes, the whole stealth aspect of the game was invented by accident. I guess Kojima wanted there to be more enemies and stuff on screen. He couldn't create the sort of action set pieces that he wanted, so he sort of worked around it by making you have to sneak around them, that sort of thing. Kind of cool, and it's a pretty great series.
Fair enough.
All right, so let's come back in a minute and talk about some wrestling, because
wrestling.
Wrestling, we're back with some wrestling. This was the heyday of the Wrestlemania.
Oh, yeah.
April 1990 was Wrestlemania 6, and two of the titans of wrestling went at it. The Ultimate Warrior.
And Hulk Hogan.
Now, the Ultimate Warrior was a pretty big deal. I mean, he was the ultimate warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior.
Like, there was no warrior.
He was the, it was Andre the Giant, and then Hulk Hogan came.
Oh, God, Andre the Giant, the landmark body slam.
Eighth wonder of the world?
The eighth wonder of the world, yeah.
And, and then with WrestleMania, with the whole thing with Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, and then Ultimate Warrior came out and blew people's minds because he was just like a animal.
He had those tassels tied to his biceps that he'd run around with, right? Now, by this time, right, WrestleMania 6, WrestleMania had gone from, because the first one was like an experiment. Right. They were, hey, wrestling's pretty big. Let's see if we can get people to pay for this crap, that kind of thing.
Right.
And by 6, it was like an institution.
Yeah.
Did you remember swapping VHS tapes? Remember there was like a whole swap market in copies of pay-per-view wrestling at that time?
I think that Eric's revealing the strange underbelly of...
That was totally the case. I
have no memory of this.
Because if you didn't get the pay-per-view stuff,
right,
or people would tape them and collect them. So I remember we had all the WrestleManias on VHS that we would get. Mm-hmm. We would actually order them and watch them. But then we would get the tapes. And I think flea markets used to have them too. You remember, flea markets are still a thing, aren't they?
Flea markets still have
swap meets.
Bootleg.
So yeah, Ultimate Warrior, I guess, was a big deal at the time. Obviously, it was a big deal to you. Podcast listeners can't tell, but YouTubers can. We are holding goofy pillows.
I forget what they were called, actually.
Is it written on them?
Yeah,
on
you have to check what they're... But they were
they're from Tonka.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
They were like those pillow wrestlers. And I still have Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and I don't know if I brought him here, But I also had the $1 Million Man.
So I don't remember Ultimate Warrior fighting Hulk Hogan. What was the big finish?
There was like the passing of the torch. Andre the Giant was the man, and Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant, which no one ever did, and that was the passing of the torch.
Right.
Andre the Giant allowed it to happen.
Of course he allowed it to happen.
That was the thing.
And you know what? That was probably awful for the actual Andre the Giant. Like, that was probably so painful because his body was constantly in pain.
I'm pretty sure we couldn't even get the pay-per-view where we lived. We had to just wait for Channel 11 News to tell us who won the...
Oh yeah, that's right. You lived in that dive town.
It was PIX had to tell us who won the big wrestling match that night.
And it was important to know.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
Every kid was waiting to find out who won. Hulk Hogan. I mean, I don't think he lost a match prior to that.
Now, well, you know this. Who holds the record for the most consecutive WrestleMania match appearances? Oh, I'm sorry.
The Undertaker.
The Undertaker. 14 straight appearances.
Yeah.
What? Oh, this upsets me. Tito Santana had 7 straight WrestleMania losses. Now, when I was a kid, Tito Santana was one of my guys. I liked him.
Yeah?
Yeah, I liked Tito Santana. I don't know why. It just,
See, I was a Piper fan.
Yeah, I liked him too. Yeah, he was cool. Who else? King Kong Bundy was the only person under 30 to headline WrestleMania until 1993. At the time of WrestleMania 6, 1990, was wrestling that goofy and we just didn't realize it because we were young? I don't think the characters were that extreme so that you had Paul Bearer and stuff like that, right? That stuff wasn't introduced yet by this.
No, I think it was. I think Paul Bearer was, if I'm not mistaken... And The Undertaker came about around the same time. It was popping in right around there.
Whoa.
Undertaker wrestled Ultimate Warrior in 1991. The early 90s, 1991, was right around the time that Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Undertaker, all those kind of characters that...
See, that's when I started to fall out of it, too.
Right.
I liked Ultimate Warrior, and Macho Man, of course. Everyone likes Macho Man because he's a goofball.
He was a nut.
I wonder how much of our nerd audience is into us doing wrestling reminiscences.
If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you watched wrestling at some point.
Yeah, right?
I mean, it was very big. It infiltrated, the toys and everything that was around back then.
It was inescapable pop culture at the time, wasn't it?
It was. It was very big.
Yeah, even if you weren't into it, you had to know something about it.
Right. Think of Cyndi Lauper with all the videos and
in the 80s,
Lou
definitely.
Albano, in the 80s, and then that trickled into the 90s, the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. So we never did actually find out who won in that WrestleMania 6.
Well, we know who won.
No, I don't.
You don't know who won the Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan match?
No. Was it?
Get out of here. There's a passing of the torch.
Oh, so I guess it must have been Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
So how did he win?
You want to see the finisher, you mean?
Yeah, what was it? I saw Hogan miss the leg drop. Give us some audio there, Tig.
Okay.
Hogan misses the leg drop. Incredible. Oh.
Yeah, that.
No.
Yeah, think of... Yeah,
that's it?
Yeah.
That's it? That's lame.
Yeah, it wasn't...
That's lame.
Let's just put it this way.
Oh, wow.
It was no... Andre the Giant body slam.
No. That was weak. It's so weak. Gotta take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about In Living Color.
You can do what you wanna do.
In Living Color. All right. In Living Color.
Ooh, Carl.
In Living Color debuted in April of 1990 on Fox, right? I believe it was a Fox show, and
the little known Fox channel.
Yeah, at the time, Fox they were nobody. In Living Color, I remember being this big cult hit that people were thinking, "Oh, this is the new SNL. This is going to topple SNL," and trying to find some of the cast. I mean, we know
the Wayans,
of course. Yeah, all the Wayans brothers. I think there's 11 of them. Yeah, there was. Let's see. There's Marlon, Damon, Sean, Kim, Jonathan, Joe, Keenan Ivory, Eric, Sean, Rosie, David, Elijah, Neil, and Tommy Wayans.
That's by memory.
Straight off the top of my head. But obviously the big one is Jim Carrey. Rosie Perez was on there as a choreographer.
Okay. For the dancers.
Yeah,
the kind of dancers.
What they were the something girls.
I thought they were the Fly Girls.
The Fly Girls. That's what it was. Yeah, the Fly Girls. Yeah.
That was always like commercial break, right?
Didn't what's her name? See, it says there Rosie Perez was the choreographer for the first 4 seasons. Didn't Paula Abdul come on in the?
I think so, because she was a choreographer too.
Oh, and that's right. You know what? I'm mixing it up with the one Fly Girl who went on to be big. You know who that is?
Tell me.
Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer Lopez was a Fly Girl.
You don't even think about that. Jennifer Lopez was a Fly Girl on Living Color, and Jim Carrey got his start.
Yeah, seriously. And the Wayans, who several of them went on to do, not huge, but they...
Pretty talented family.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, big time. It was essentially like the Wayans and Friends.
Right.
I think one of the other things that was really cool about the show... You didn't realize it was cool about the show at the time, but that was so sort of groundbreaking and genre busting. It's like this was a sketch comedy show that like half the cast or more. Were black.
Yeah,
and
Jim Carrey was like
he was the token white
guy. Yeah. It was a big deal. The thing was huge. I remember when you went to school or whatever, everyone talked about it.
Yeah.
Everyone was always talking about it.
And sketch shows almost never... Like, the only big one since... even since SNL, other than in Living Color, the only big sketch show that I can think of is Kids in the Hall. And I don't even think that was big. I think that was, like, more of a cult thing.
Yeah, like, I loved Kids in the Hall, but I'd probably say that I was of a very small handful of kids I knew growing up that watched it. It was definitely niche.
Yeah.
Living Color, everybody watched it. Your parents watched it. We watched, like everybody was watching it.
That's who I watched it with.
Yeah.
And it's saying here on Wiki, it was immensely popular in its first 2 seasons, capturing more than a 10-point Nielsen rating, whatever that means.
That's 10 points for Fox at the time was probably pretty huge.
Now it says, in the 3rd and 4th seasons, ratings faltered as the Wayans brothers fell out with the Fox network leadership over creative control and rights.
Okay.
Now the Fox has always been notorious as being...
When the producers start making decisions.
Yeah, bastards about stuff like that. And seriously, you've got this family of incredibly talented people who just gave you a hit show. Let them do.
No, we got to screw with it.
Look at this. 127 episodes. That's pretty incredible, actually. That's pretty incredible.
It was one of those shows that was it was just enormous, but now you look back and if you didn't grow up watching it, you really don't even know about it.
I feel like
it's very strange that it fell out like that.
I feel like unless you were there in that place and time, a lot of people don't even really think about it.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Boy, in our day, this was big.
Yeah, it was very big. And when did it go off the air?
It originally ran from April of 1990 to May of 1994.
Wow, so it didn't even have that long of a run.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 seasons, 127 episodes, and that was it.
Wow. But then also the show through a lot of the David Allen Greer, the Wayans brothers, Jim Carrey, like they went on to do other things, and then you lose those. Like, didn't Jim Carrey leave? And that was.
So when was the last time you saw an episode or even a sketch from In Living Color?
Like when it was on. I don't think I ever watched a rerun of it.
I mean, have you looked at a sketch on YouTube or anything like that?
I think maybe I stumbled upon the fire. What was the Jim Carrey sketch?
Fire Marshal.
Yeah, when he had his lip was
like
because he was burnt or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe about a year ago.
That's probably maybe about it that I've seen. Yeah. What were the characters? It was Damon and maybe was it Keenan? I don't remember, but I know Damon was one of them. They played the really flamboyant characters.
Oh, the gay characters.
Yeah, I can't remember what the sketch was. It was a running gag. I don't remember what the characters were though, but I can still picture that in my head. But I haven't seen any of them, and I wonder how they hold up. So yeah, I think I feel like after we're done recording this episode, we're probably going to want to go and individually check some of this out. Right?
I'm curious to see if any of them hold up.
Yeah. Me too. So, all right, we'll be back in a minute, and yeah.
Here's a choice of food and drink to satisfy anyone and everyone. You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment. Something to please all tastes and age groups.
Tig, we're 4 episodes down. And
4 episodes.
We are now 4 months into the 1990s.
how many left? 16?
17. 20, 19, 18, 116 left to go. 116 episodes left to go. Do we have it in us?
I don't know. I don't know if my heart can take it.
Can your liver take it?
I don't know if my liver can take it.
People who are tuning in next week, we got a lot of really fun stuff. We're going to be talking about Back to the Future Part 3.
Oh my god.
Yeah, super awesome.
That'll be awesome.
I can't wait for that. We also have some cool television stuff. Newhart, the last episode of Newhart.
Oh my, I loved that show.
Of course, the last episode of You Can't Do That on Television.
Wow.
Yeah. And the last episode of Tracy Ullman.
Oh man, that's going to be. I am looking forward to that episode.
Plus, we have one of the early records of Soundgarden, which we might talk about.
Really?
I think that might be a bonus segment. And the top shows of that month, which we may get into, were Cheers, Roseanne, and The Cosby Show.
Yeah,
so let's
favorites.
see. But that's for next week. This week, we're wrapping up the episode. For you Patreon subscribers, hey, you have a little extra, which is cool. In our bonus segment on the podcast, we're going to talk about Public Enemy's seminal Fear of a Black Planet. And we're also going to talk about Pete Baggs' Hate Indie Comic in a quick segment of both of those. In the meantime, if you're watching on YouTube, check us out on the podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, check us out on YouTube. Pretty much just nerdoutwithme.com.
Nerd Out With Me.
Or any sort of social network, just search for Nerd Out With Me. We will be on there. Blah, blah, blah. Plug. I hate to plug stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to plug.
No, yeah, I just, well, you have to, but I don't like doing it. I hate it.
They know where we are.
I know where you are, too. I know where all of you people are. So anyway, closing things out. This has been, we didn't introduce ourselves well. This has been Eric San Juan.
And this is Tig Carson.
This has been the Nerd Out With Me 90s cast, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.